A very Merry Christmas to you. Good evening. My name is Lillian Muli, wishing you and your families holiday cheer, a very fruitful Christmas day, and indeed love all around. Let's take a look at stories making headlines tonight. Spate of abductions. Independent Policing Oversight Authority visits families of Bill Mwangi, Peter Muteti Njeru and Bernard Kavuli and promises to investigate abduction of youth.
Akaanza na ndugu yangu. Akamchapa leo nyaunyo na pia alikuwa na pipe nyingine ya chuma. Na sasa yeye uko uchi alimchapa kwa muda mrefu sana.
Ile mlango ikifunguliwa ujue tunapigwa, tutatochwa ndio upewe chakula ukule.
Abducted and detained without trial. Aslam and Jamil Longton tell of their torture ordeal at the hands of government agents.
Gone were those days when they used to arrest you and take you to Nyayo House. But this time you're being taken to Nyayo House, which is a government institution. These days you're being taken to unknown places. We don't know, we don't want this kind of primitive things to happen in our country.
We will, as a people's loyal opposition, now be able to address even our partners to tell them what kind of a regime is this? And I'm sure they will also be addressing this issue. Instead of abducting them, arrest them.
Political leaders slam government and call for an end to abduction of youth. Silence the guns. Pope Francis calls for dialogue, negotiation and the silencing of arms in Ukraine and the Middle East in annual Christmas message. Merry Christmas once again and a very warm welcome to you. My sign language interpreter tonight is Yulan Zale. Religious leaders from the Catholic and Anglican churches have slammed the new spate of abductions of youth in various parts of the country. The clergy called for better handling of the situation and slammed the government over the abductions, saying any arrests must be conducted in broad daylight and in accordance with all legal requirements. They spoke separately during and after the Christmas Day Mass. Jasmine Wamboy starts this Christmas Day edition with coverage of the rising concern about abductions of youth in the country.
A Christmas like no other, coming at a close of a year that has been trying for all and sundry. A year that will be remembered for the Gen Z-led protests that saw hundreds of young people invade Parliament and tens pay for protests against the government with their lives.
We pray for William, our president. We pray for Abraham, our deputy.
As congregants gathered in churches across the country to celebrate what is perhaps the most important day in the Christian calendar, their joy was visibly punctuated by the recent abductions witnessed in the country. The message from the clergy loud and clear.
Abduction ama watu kuzolewa au kushikwa kwa sababu ya msimamo fulani au kujieleza kwa uwazi. I think ni jambo limepitwa na wakati.
Kenyans, sometimes we can be very cruel to each other. But I want to say this is a moment that we have to revisit and review our own relationship with one another.
With a number of abductions at 3, with 2 more youth siblings newly listed as missing, the clergy have condemned the incidents as a violation of both Christian values and the Kenyan constitution.
Whoever has wrong, let that person be arrested in daylight, brought to the court of law, and whatever wrong will be established and the person will be arraigned according to what they have done, not according to what we don't know.
Nakumbuka wakati wa ukoloni, haya ndio yalikuwa yanatokea. Mtu unadhaniwa wewe, hata umewaza, umedhani, na unachukuliwa, unapelekwa kuumizwa, kufungiwa na kadhalika. Tunamsihi rais kama ndiye anajua wanahusika au kama yeyote yule anayenisikiliza wakati huu, it is bringing us back many years before independence.
The church is now calling for perseverance from Kenyans in the face of ongoing abductions.
In due course, God will reveal everything that is done in darkness in the light, and the Lord will sort us out His way.
Let us
get together to do good and stop competing to do evil.
Kenyans, thank you for persevering in the year that has passed. There are a lot of challenges, but as we continue to persevere, let us also, as Christians, remember that our first duty is to pray for peace.
As Christmas Mass was underway at the Holy Family Basilica, a group of young men interrupted the Mass to demand the release of those abducted. The youth now issuing a 24-hour ultimatum to the government for the unconditional release of all abductees.
There is no merit for us. So tumekuja, tunataka kanisa isimame na sisi kupinga abductions, kupinga enforced disappearances of young people, especially those that are fighting for good governance.
We are going to call for a mother of protest to ensure that our young men, our fellow comrades are free. Because this government, the only language that they listen to is the language of the streets.
This Christmas, the church says, is one marked by a myriad of social injustices. The clergy now calling on the government and other national leaders to emulate Christ in the way that they lead this nation. Jasmine Wambui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And thanks for that, Jasmine. And former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has slammed the government for advancing a new culture of abducting online critics, terming the new wave of abductions as primitive and backward. Speaking when he attended a Christmas service in Siaya County, Odinga came out guns blazing, calling on the government to follow the rule of law in dealing with those opposed to it. As Emmanuel Tor now reports, the sentiments have also been echoed by opposition leaders led by WAPE boss Kalonzo Musyoka.
The fresh wave of abductions of social media users who have been critical of President William Ruto has elicited mixed reactions, with the former Prime Minister, who is also the African Union Commission chairperson candidate Raila Odinga, jumping into the fray, calling out the government for what he called a primitive way of dealing with those opposed to it. Speaking when he attended a Christmas service at St. Peter's Nyamira in Bondo, Siaya County, a visibly irked Odinga slammed the Kenya Kwanza government for the return of kidnappings.
The issue of abductions of innocent people, this is a primitive thing. And it is something that is very strange. You cannot live in a country where people disappear or people are abducted for no other reason and kept incommunicado for a long time. That shows that there's no government. Many parents have been crying. Our child was abducted the other day and by some people who were uniformed, and you have never seen this child up to now.
Odinga calling for an immediate end to the string of abductions and kidnapping, asking security agencies to follow the rule of law.
So I want to urge the government to ensure that this matter ends completely this year. We want a safe and secure country. Gone were those days when they used to arrest you and take you to Nyayo House. But this time you're being taken to Nyayo House, which is a government institution. These days you're being taken to unknown places. We don't want this kind of primitive things to happen in our country. It's primitive and it's unacceptable completely.
The sentiments were also backed up by opposition leaders led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who has threatened to escalate the matter to the international community.
These abductions must stop forthwith. I think that even our development partners, we will, as a People's Loyal Opposition, now be able to address even our partners to tell them what kind of a regime is this. And I'm sure they will also be addressing these issues.
Abducting Kenyans, killing Kenyans will not resolve the issues, because Kenyans will not be intimidated to say no to bad policies.
The police have been accused of targeting and abducting those who have been posting messages deemed offensive against the president.
If there are crimes that are indeed apparently committed by some of these young people, and you feel that it's an affront to your dignity or something, instead of abducting them, arrest them.
Kenyans are saying they have been vaccinating their animals against rinderpest, against other diseases. Why are you forcing the Bill Gates vaccines on them now?
Emmanuel Tor, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And the Independent Police Oversight Authority has commenced investigations into recent cases of abductions of Kenyans on X, with their rapid response teams visiting with abductees' families in Othero, Ngong, and Embu to unravel the circumstances surrounding the abductions. IPOA chairperson Isaac Hassan has confirmed 4 reported cases, which they are pursuing to establish whether police were involved, as has been alleged, and recommend action to be taken. The probe comes even as another family in Nandi County raised the alarm over 2 brothers' abductions, that is Gideon Kibet, alias Kibet Bull on X, and Rooney Kiplagat, who went missing in Kikuyu, Kiambu, under mysterious circumstances. Gatete Njoroge reports on events that have left Kenyans in fear and shock.
Over the last 5 days, the country has been treated to one case of abduction after another. It started with the abduction of Peter Muteti in Udhiru on Saturday morning, followed by Billy Mwangi's abduction in Embu on Saturday afternoon. And the script moved to Ngong on Sunday evening, where Bernard Kavuli was picked by abductors. It is a trend that has caught the eye of the Independent Police Oversight Authority, which has launched investigations. IPOA chairperson Isaac Hassan says they are concerned and are pursuing 4 cases of abductions in the last 5 days. Hassan adds that officers have been dispatched to different locations where the victims were taken from to probe the circumstances under which they were taken. IPOA says where fault is found, it will make recommendations for prosecution or internal disciplinary action. The probe comes even as 3 abductees celebrated Christmas in the hands of their abductors, despite calls for their release from the Law Society of Kenya, church and political leaders. 2 persons are listed as missing with no conclusive evidence of their abduction as yet. A family in Nandi County is concerned that their family members could have been abducted in a similar manner. The family of Gideon Kibet, alias Kibet Bull on X platform, who is known for using cartoon silhouettes to critique the president, says he has been missing since Tuesday after attending an event in Nairobi where he last spoke to a friend.
Wakakommunicate akasema ashapanda gari anarudi Kikuyu na hakufika. Since then akajaribu by 9 p.m. yesterday anajaribu kumpigia, tunajaribu pia hadi saa hii tunajaribu kupiga masimu offline, hapatikani, no communication, hatupati any communication.
A relative who did not wish to be identified says days before Kibet went missing, his young brother Rodney Kiplangat, who is not an active social media user, disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Kiplangat is yet to be traced since Saturday and his phone is off.
We think it's related because I think Kibet hakuwa anakuja Nairobi sana. Alikuwa anasema he save on the other side.
Tunahofia maisha yetu pia because 2 brothers who are going missing during this Christmas season ni ngumu. Inatufanya pia sisi tukue worried, atujui what next, ama mwenye amewaabduct, mwenye amewarest, wanataka nini kutoka kwao ama wanataka nini kutoka kwetu.
With their phones off and no reports of their whereabouts, the family has reported the matter at Dogoto police station, where investigations have begun. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
Now, the return of abductions of online government critics have reawakened memories of the terror visited on those taken at the height of the anti-government protests in the middle of the year. 2 brothers from Kitengela were amongst those who were abducted and held for long periods of time in what they can only describe as torture chambers. Brenda Wanga sat down with Jamil and Aslam Longton, who shared the ordeal they suffered for 32 days.
The Longtons brothers' accounts of torture mirror narrations of prisoners who, after the liberation of Syria from Bashar al-Assad, recounted horror and harrowing stories of Sednaya prison, where prisoners were subjected to similar punishment.
Mnafungwa pingu,
24 hours.
Jamal and Aslam Longton were abducted right outside their gate in Kitengela in the aftermath of the intense August 8th Kitengela demonstrations and locked up for 32 days. Days of sheer torture and terror.
Kufika katika ile chumba tulifunguliwa uso. Wakati tumefunguliwa uso, chumba yenyewe ni giza. Kuna boards all over na imepakwa black kuzidisha ile giza zaidi.
Imetengenezwa na macardboards zile heavy. Na ni black, imepaintiwa black. Only CCTV camera ndio imecapture pale ndani. So hakuna mwangaza pale ndani na hakuna ile hata dirisha unaweza kupumua. Yani ni giza na pia kupumua ni shida. Mazingira ya pale ndani inatisha.
3 months after their release, they are only beginning to get a good night's sleep, but the scars, both physical and psychological, are still tangible. The physical torture began as soon as they entered their torture chambers. The two were stripped naked, cuffed to the ground before being subjected to physical abuse.
Wakati tumekaa dakika 20, bwana mwingine akakuja. Akona pistol hapa na amejifunga mask. Lakini ni mtu ana mwili kabisa, kama mtu amebeba chuma sana. Yule bwana alikuja na nyaunyo. Wakati alikuja, sisi tukajua hapa ni kuchapwa tu direct. Akaanza na ndugu yangu. Akamchapa nayo nyaunyo na pia alikuwa na pipe nyingine ya chuma. Na sasa hiyo uko uchi, alimchapa kwa muda mrefu sana. Na wakati anamchapa, anatamka kuwa mtatuambia pesa ya maandamano mnatoa wapi.
Ile chumba kifunguliwa, basi roho yangu itazidi kupiga nikijua either ni kutolewa uhai au ni mimi mwenyewe kupigwa. Atakuja na lile cable fiber au atakuja na hiyo pipe au atatumia mikono zao kunipiga, na kila saa wako na silaha, bunduki. So anakuonesha, anakuambia ukijaribu kuhepa tutakuua. Na ukiwa mgonjwa saa zingine aswa kama mimi na alsa, so nitavumilia ile njaa na lile kukaa bila maji na pia lile changamoto la pale ndani. Kila saa nilikuwa nikizidi kuumia.
The discomfort did not stop there. The brothers, who were visibly emaciated on their release, say the food rations were deliberately reduced.
Tupatie chakula moja kwa siku. Na ilikuwa tu ni ugali na cabbage. Na ile ugali na cabbage ilikuwa ni chakula kidogo ambaye haiwezi kutosheleza mwili wa binadamu. Haja kubwa ulikuwa unaenda baada ya wiki moja. Kwa sababu ile chakula unakula yote mwili inachukua. Na maji ulikuwa unapewa milimita 300. Kama ile chupa ya soda ndogo. Hiyo maji ndio utakunywa. Hiyo maji ndio utaoshea mikono wakati unataka kula. Hiyo maji ndio utaosha mkono wakati umemaliza kula. Sasa lazima mwenyewe ujipime. Na unajua wakati umekuwa dehydrated, mwili inaendelea kidhoofika. So the main purpose was just to torture us.
Choo ni mara moja, yani 5 liter imekatwa kichwa yake juu. So hiyo 5 liter ndio unaenda haja kubwa na ndogo. Pale umefungwa. Hiyo jerrycan umeweka tu kando. Ikishajaa, sasa ile atakuja kukupea chakula na kisha nipiga, na pia kuna watu wengine pale kwa zile cubes pia wanapitia lile changamoto.
They say in that isolation they almost lost count of the days saved from listening to the TV in another part of the torture chambers. They have been free for 3 months now, but they say the impact of that period of abduction is still with them. They are struggling to even earn a living on account of their ruined reputation.
Biashara imeathirika kwa sababu watu wengi hawaelewi kwa nini tuliabdaktiwa na serikali. Hawa wanaona kuwa sisi ni wahalifu wakubwa sana. So ile image, nyinyi mnajua image ya biashara ikienda chini, kuiregesha ni ngumu. Na imeenda chini kwa sababu ya serikali. So hata yale mapato imepungua, imedidimia zaidi.
Hatujali uhai wetu, ni Mungu anayejua. Kama watatukujia tena watuue, juu alisema mkienda kwa news na kujieleza kwenye media wataturudi na watuue. But we are not afraid. Tunataka haki ifanyike Kenya. Sioni maana ya kuchukua Mkenya na kumficha hizo siku zote, kumnyima chakula na kumpiga, Kama Mkenya amefanya makosa, kuna koti.
But those challenges notwithstanding, Aslam says he would not stop speaking against the ills that took him to the streets in the first place. Their story confirming the existence of a similar to the Nyayo House torture chambers during the late former President Daniel Arap Moi's rule. All this are happening in present-day Kenya. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Wow, and talking about the state of human rights in the country, the recent spate of abductions, as you've seen in that story, among other issues targeting online government critics, bears all the hallmarks of the deterioration of human rights in the country and is inconsistent with President William Ruto's pledge to safeguard human rights and end authoritarian tendencies that characterized the previous administration he served. Ayub Abdikadir reports on the president's lofty promise to remedy the situation, his faded out vigor, and the downward spiral in the state of human rights in the country.
He projected a persona of a calm, albeit determined presidential candidate, promising a break with the past, telling of the administration he served as deputy president for what he labeled a campaign of blunders. His focus, the state of human rights and weaponization of state institutions. And he spoke on his obvious cause of anger in his first major television interview.
How did Kenyans end up being killed in this manner? And then it was business as usual. 30 bodies in Yala. There's 17 bodies in Garissa. I don't know how many bodies were. People, there was a container here at the Nairobi area where people were being slaughtered in a police station. How did we end up there? What kind of rogue, institution? And that is why I fired that Kinoti man, because, it's not right.
The grand gesture in ending enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings faded with time.
It is alarming. We disregard the delegate system.
The president drifting away from the subject matter, leaving a sense of fatigue to hang over his administration. And then the massive anti-tax protests set in. A winter of historic happenings. Protesters flooding the streets of major towns across the country. The government, in mounting a defense, pretended it was unaware of abductions, and with the president at the helm, purported not to know.
If there is a family, any family, that their child or their friend or their relative went to a demonstration, whether it is last year or this year, and never came back, I want to know the names, because I will take firm and decisive action. Because as I talk to you today, I don't have a single name of somebody who has been abducted or disappeared.
And as the president spoke at the Lake Basin Mall in Kisumu County, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, funded by the taxpayer, on the 1st of July reported the killings of 39 Kenyans following the countrywide demonstrations.
But I have heard you, and I have heard the many Kenyans who have talked.
The past few days have witnessed a systematic targeting of government critics on social spaces. And with its constitutional mandate of protecting life and property in question, the state appears keen on broadening its mandate despite acknowledging a lack of capacity.
Tutakuwa na hatari kubwa kama taifa, and we will not have a future as a nation if we lose the young generation. And it is the responsibility of every parent. Government can do so much, but there is no government that is going to take over the place of parents.
The spate of abductions in recent days adds to the accumulating factors weighing on the Kenya Kwanza administration and on President William Ruto, in what human rights organizations say is a glaring example of government overreach in targeting online dissidents. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
But even as questions linger on the state of human rights in the country, President William Ruto joined Kenyans in celebrating the Christmas Day, steering clear of the heated controversy that is the abduction of youth who have attacked him and his administration. Instead, he called for responsibility from Kenyans as they go through the festivities to avoid road accidents during the festive season. Speaking when he attended a Christmas church service at AIC All PCI in Narok County, Ruto called for unity in the country amid heightened political tension. The head of state also rallied families to instill stronger values in their children to have a society of values.
Tujue ya kwamba Krismasi ni wakati wa sherehe, ni wakati wa furaha, lakini pia tufanye yale yote tunayofanya kwa kiasi. As we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, as we celebrate this moment, we must also remember to celebrate our children, to celebrate our families, and to celebrate our nation. Knowing very well that the future of our nation is dependent on a strong foundation for our children. And the future of a strong nation is dependent on strong families and strong societies. Na sote tuungane kama wananchi wa taifa letu la Kenya wakati huu wa Krismasi.
Further afield, Pope Francis gave his customary Christmas greetings and message from St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican before the crowds in the square and live media coverage for people watching around the world. Wishing everyone a serene and blessed Christmas, Pope Francis urged people all over the world to be reconciled with God and with one another, to have a world marked by peace and harmony.
Speaking from the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica to thousands of people in the square below, Pope Francis began his Christmas message by praying that the sound of weapons may be silenced in war-torn Ukraine, urging for strength and openness to negotiations and dialogue for a just and lasting peace.
May the sound of arms be silenced in war-torn Ukraine. May there be the boldness needed to open the door to negotiation and to gestures of dialogue and encounter in order to achieve a just and lasting peace.
The Pope prayed for an end to war in the Middle East, recalling the crib of Bethlehem and Christian communities in Israel and Palestine. He prayed especially for Gaza, where the humanitarian situation is dire.
May the sound of arms be silenced in the Middle East. In contemplating the crib of Bethlehem, I think of the Christian communities in Palestine and Israel, particularly to the beloved people of Gaza, where the humanitarian situation is extremely grave.
Pope Francis also expressed his closeness to the Christian communities in Lebanon and in Syria in the midst of transition, praying that the doors of dialogue and peace be flung open throughout the region devastated by conflict. He also encouraged the people of Libya as they work for a national reconciliation. Remembering Africa, the Pope prayed for the birth of Jesus to inspire hope for the many thousands of children suffering from a measles outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Mozambique.
God's mercy can do all things. It unties every knot. It tears down every wall of division. It dispels hatred and the spirit of revenge. Come, Jesus is the door of peace.
He pointed out how this humanitarian crisis is due primarily to human causes, armed conflicts, the scourge of terrorism, and worsened by the climate change, forcing the displacement of millions and putting many at mortal risk. The Pope
concluding his Christmas message by urging the advanced economies to forgive debts, especially from the poorest countries. At the conclusion, the Pope imparted his blessing, Ubi e Obi, translated to the city and world. Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
And we're taking a very short break now. We'll be back with very much more on Citizen TV. But before we take our break, let's take a look at what Kenyans were up to today. And Kenyans thronged various entertainment joints and parks in Mombasa, Nakuru, and other places across the country to celebrate Christmas. In Kajiado, Kisii, and Nairobi counties, well-wishers gave the less fortunate a glimmer of hope as they shared goodies on Christmas Day. Despite the harsh economic times dampening the festive mood, a section of Kenyans went out of the way to celebrate with their loved ones, as Marianne Nyambura reports. Let's take a look.
The Jomo Kenyatta Public Beach, commonly known as Pirates, the go-to spot for both local and international tourists in Mombasa town, was abuzz with activity. Thousands of Kenyans flocked the coast on Christmas Day to spend quality time with their families and engage in activities to celebrate Christmas and perhaps make memories.
Christmas ya leo naona iko sawa, mambo ya security ilikuwa sawa, haina mambo ya wizi ama furugu. Tumeona hapo ni mahali basuri, tumejienjoy, watu ni wengi, wametoka sehemu mbalimbali na tushafurahia.
We have not increased our food stuffs. They have remained the same because again, as much as people are making merry, they're still complaining about the economic situation where they don't have so much. But again, this is Christmas. The families have to enjoy. So as business people, we're also trying to accommodate them, understanding the economic situation in the country.
In Nakuru, the Lake Nakuru National Park game drives attracted local and international tourists who, despite the harsh economic times, showed up to enjoy the holidays with their loved ones.
I've lived in Nakuru for 20 years na sijawahi ingia na park. Saa leo nikasema lazima we make it a memorable day. I have very children in my car. But tuseme tuna survive too. It has never been better. Tusidanganyane ati very better. Lakini sometimes unajikakamua unasema leo ni mimi.
Actually expect to get a total of around 1,000 and over visitors coming to the park today during this festive season.
In Kisii town, 250 street children were treated to good food and drinks. They danced their hearts out as well-wishers shared the joy of Christmas.
Idadi ya hawa watoto imeendelea kuongezeka partly because kuna wengine wazazi wamekufa, lakini pia nafikiri ni hali ngumu ya kiuchumi.
Si mara mingi jambo kama hii inatokea, lakini tumeshukuru na kusema ni asante kwa hii support yenye umetupea. At least kuna wenye hata hawako wanajua maana ya Christmas, at least wamejua. Si wengi wetu tumeamka tukajua tutakula vile tumekula leo.
Kajiado residents were also treated to Christmas goodies, an initiative by Korompoi Area Assistant Chief.
Nikaona kama chifu ama naibu wa chifu ni jukumu langu nisaidie hawa watoto. Ndio watoto wangu wasisaidike na watoto wananchi hawasaidiki.
Interior and National Administration Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen visited Ngaratuk camp in Baringo County to deliver a Christmas message and commend the officers for their dedication and excellent work in safeguarding the country during the festive season.
His Excellency the President is really thinking about you and is very, very happy with the work you've done to restore peace in Kerio Valley region. The work you've done is really extremely commendable and the whole country is celebrating you.
CS Murkomen also visited Takwil.
Wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Tot and Kainuk camps. Marianne Nyambura, Citizen TV.
Merry Christmas to all of you, our viewers. We are so thankful that you've kept it Citizen TV all year. We're going to take a very short break and we'll be back with much more right after the break. Stay with us.
ho! Merry Christmas! My name is Emmanuel Toh, political affairs reporter at Citizen TV, here to wish you a Merry Christmas full of God's blessings.
These days, you have to shop smart as everything is so expensive. I shop smart. I always get a good bargain when I buy my mbogas from Mama Chege. I shop smart. I buy the 1 kg of Msafi, which costs the same as 500 grams of a popular detergent. I shop smart. Msafi removes tough stains and keeps clothes bright. And its pleasant fragrance keeps clothes smelling fresh. Chaguo smart, value maradufu, na Msafi.
Chrissy Moments ni kumake memories za nguvu, kueneza furaha, kushirikiana na familia na marafiki na kuinuana. Chrissy Moments ni kuja pamoja, kujuliana hali na kumake memories. Equity iko hapa kujenga hizi moments za Chrissy. Tuma pesa from Equity to Equity for free. Lipa kwa Equity Till au na Equity card yoyote for free. Cha kupendeza zaidi, tuko na deals moto moto za kuchangamsha Christmas yako. Isitoshe, ukikwama, tunakusort na Easy Loan ama upate boostika. Tujenge Chrissy Moments na Equity. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from Equity.
View Travel's Thai Adventure. Relax on Pattaya's beaches, explore Bangkok's vibrant city and adventure in Thailand. Encounter wildlife at Safari World, experience magic at Dream World and speedboat to Coral Island. Experience all this and more in a 7-day trip starting from $1,180 USD per person sharing. Angukia deals moto na View Travel. Book now and lipa pole pole. Visit viewtravel.com or call and WhatsApp 0703-254-254. View Travel. Dream, explore, discover.
New Downy perfume collection. Sometimes I need a scent to keep me calm amongst the chaos, or a light fragrance that keeps me fresh in the heat, or a perfume that feels elegant all day and into the night, lasting longer than expensive perfumes. New Downy, lavender calm, sunrise fresh, and sweet elegance, freshness that inspires confidence. Your dreams have come true. Try it for only 20 shillings.
At Brookhurst International Schools, we shape tomorrow's leaders today. From early years to sixth form, our world-class education focuses on developing the whole child. With personalized attention, state-of-the-art facilities, and a multicultural environment, we prepare students for a global future. As the only school in Kenya offering the renowned International Foundation Diploma, we provide access to 110+ universities worldwide. Visit our campuses in Lavington and Kiserian. Join Brookhurst International Schools, where potential meets opportunity.
Chrissy itadonjo na Royco. Ukisema pilau ama mchuzi rojo wet and dry fry hadi nyama choma, hata ukitaka ugali greens na new chili cube pia itabamba. Zote zitadonjo ukieka Royco. Onjo uamini Chrissy itadonjo.
Great yummy taste, gotta hack it. I spread bread, but nguvu gotta pack it. Napaka nywele design ya mogoro. Glow band, Juni natural cocoa. 5 vitamins, una grow plus ni tam nani. Tuna hack snack na ki blue band choco for your growth.
This Christmas, it feels good to be home with Safaricom Home Fiber. Enjoy double the speeds at a discounted 25% Sambaza for our Christmas offers on Kenya's fastest home internet. Dial *400# or visit My Safaricom app to get connected.
Do you know
that your son loves me? I've got him to heel like a little lapdog licking at my feet. Do you want to prove which of us Mr. L prefers? Would it be his tiresome mom, who always bothers him, or me?
Welcome back. Kenya's economy continues to face mounting pressure as the backlog of pending bills hits concerning levels. A new report from the Controller of Budget highlights the escalating financial strain, with the national government's pending bills rising to 528.36 billion shillings as of September 30th, 2024, up from 516.27 billion shillings in June. Dennis Otieno gives us the breakdown.
State corporations and semi-autonomous government agencies account for the lion's share of the pending bills, holding 410.7 billion shillings, 78% of the total amount. Ministries, departments and agencies contribute the remaining 22%, or 117.7 billion shillings. However, the pending payments at 528.4 billion shillings signal a marked improvement from 794.2 billion shillings recorded in the same period last year.
Pending bills, we have also not been doing very well, because the movement in terms of repayment has been quite low. The bulk of the pending bills are held by state corporations, not ministries. And as you may already be aware, the government put together a task force to look at the pending bills with a view to determining how they can be settled.
The ripple effects of the unpaid bills is being felt across the economy. Businesses dependent on government payments are struggling to stay afloat. Suppliers and contractors face severe cash flow disruptions, with some forced to close shop or downsize operations. The slow pace of disbursements and inefficiencies in financial management is further compounding the crisis.
The budget absorption, you will see that the ministries are only at 18%, as opposed to 25%, which is expected at the end of the quarter. And that tells you that there is already a shortfall of 7% in the expected level of expenditure. So if you do not have enough just to spend as per budget, then it's not going to be easy to settle pending bills.
Economic observers reckon there is need for stricter oversight of state entities, timely disbursements and prioritized payment of existing debts. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV.
Now, it is Christmas season, and once again, the Christmas trees are out. They are the centerpieces of decorations in most homes and business places. Use of Christmas trees in decorations has been a long-standing tradition, but with the advent of climate change, many are rethinking the practice, or at least the tree itself. Some hoteliers in the city are leading this group of citizens who are using recyclables to biodegradables, setting standards for change to save the life of the Mother Earth. Climate change reporter Agnes Olo takes a look.
Joyous celebrating doesn't have to come at the cost of your surroundings. However, it takes a little creativity, a lot of teamwork, and a commitment to make the world a greener place. In Nairobi's Westlands area, this Christmas tree in a hotel drew our attention.
This Christmas, what we decided to do is create a concept that tells a sustainability story, and tells it, not just making it ugly, but tell it with an edge of, aesthetic consideration.
Randy Ngala is the brains behind this sturdily designed and visually striking tree. He says it was not his original idea, but he put in more work for better execution.
We collaborated with the African Originals, which are a Kenyan company, and we requested for 2,200 bottles. Our internal in-house team created stilts, more or less like the background that, you know, creates the tree, to help us now pile up these bottles into a shape of a tree.
Kilometers away from this venue is a different hotel. Here, the De La Creme led the journey to climate sustainability.
To tight it well, to be sure they don't move anymore.
Thomas Simonet gives us insights behind these meticulous creations.
We have an axe, okay, which is screwed down and screwed up, making hole, and after cutting the different wooden piece with the different sizes to give this frame, and after just a small wood as a decoration. Of course, it's not always easy to be put in. And as I told you, the balls are just glued with hot glue, with a gun. And you see, for example, when we need to dismantle in a story, it's easy. You just do this, it's coming out.
Thomas addressed concerns about what would happen if the whole world decided to use wood to make Christmas trees.
You have to know, part of the Accor policy, we are planting a lot of trees every year. Okay, so we are going in different forests in Kenya, planting about 200, 300, 400, 500 trees every year. So, of course, we're using some wood, but at the same time, we are replanting. So I would say it's a real sustainable circle.
In the wake of calls for waste management and introduction of various policies to eradicate plastic use, the existence of the iconic Christmas tree hangs by a slim thread.
I know people might say that, you know, a Christmas tree is not single use. But then again, if you look at it, if it's made of plastic and you're trying to champion for sustainability, then I don't think that would be the direction that we would like to take.
The plastic trees, we store them, they get damaged, and we have to change them every year or every second year. So I think we're generating more first waste with synthetic ones.
Both Thomas and Randy agree that the initiatives they dared are more expensive compared to buying the synthetic Christmas tree, but they have no regrets.
We're not talking about expense, but about investment. An expense when you consume it immediately. An investment is something on middle or long term. Okay, as we don't want plastic and this type of thing, so of course it would have been less expensive to do it with plastic trees, but creating waste, which is not good for the planet. So we prefer to invest, and we know that we will keep them for a few years, because as soon as Christmas finish, we fold them, put them in storage, and next year they will come back. Maybe the balls will be a bit different or colors, but the idea is there.
We had an initial cost, which was not so high compared to what the malls are selling, of, you know, buying the metal and steel, which is a bit costly. But then again, if you consider that every year you'll be using it, that means if you break down the cost, it becomes very insignificant.
The festive initiatives exhibited by the two hotels are a reminder that responsibility begins with small intentional choices, whether it's rethinking holiday traditions or adopting eco-friendly habits. Each step takes the world closer to a healthier planet.
A climate-friendly Christmas by Agnes Solo. Thank you so much for that beautiful report. We are taking a very short break and we're back with more, including all the day sports. Stay with us.